Hey everyone, it's Toyhouze and welcome to this jewel crafting guide. We're going to talk about two things primarily. We're going to talk about prospecting in jewel crafting. We're going to talk about the odds to get different gems, how much the ore costs, how much the gems will sell for to see if it's profitable. And then we're also going to move on and talk briefly about leveling jewel crafting. Now, I'm not going to list out an entire guide on how to level jewel crafting. That's, I prefer to go through those at my own time, at my own speed. Instead, I'm just going to give you some options of what I believe are some of the best TBC jewel crafting guides out there for leveling, telling you what to make, and then also some mistakes to avoid while leveling up jewel crafting so you can do it as cheaply as possible. And also how to make a huge profit off of people who are also trying to level jewel crafting. All of that and more starting right now. So welcome to the Ultimate Jewel Crafting Pre-Patch Guide. This is going to be a guide focusing on pre-patch. We're not going to talk about leveling jewel crafting past 300 or any of the ores in Outland or any of the gems in Outland. So let's start talking about prospecting first, actually. So with prospecting, you can take 5 of any one ore, so copper ore, for example, and turn it into some gems. You're prospecting for gems here. So if you look at the percentages here, there's going to be common gems that you can find and then uncommon gems or rare gems that you can find. You'll always get at least one gem from prospecting from the common options. So if you were to prospect copper ore, every single time you're going to get either a malachite or a tiger's eye. However, it is possible to get both a malachite and a tiger's eye in one prospecting. Now, with the rare gems, you can also get one of those as well. So this is a roll on top of the common gems. So you could get a malachite and a shadow gem, a tiger's eye and a shadow gem as well. So these are just some of the different things you can get. I pulled in the price of copper ore based off Nexus Hub, and you can see the price of copper for 5 of them, how much that would cost, and then how much you can make selling the gems. Now, of course, with the auction house closure and reopening next Tuesday with pre-patch launch, prices are going to be absolutely unpredictable. But I wanted to include what prices are right now, so as a historical way to look back and kind of reflect, what went up, what went down. I think it would be interesting. But you can also just take note of the ratios. How much does a malachite sell for compared to some copper, for example? So basically with copper ore and prospecting, my conclusion is that you really can't make gold with these current prices just buying copper ore, prospecting it, and then selling the gems. Now let's move on to the next ore. We've got tin ore. So tin ore actually has a lot of really interesting gems that you can get here. Requires 50 skill to start prospecting tin, but you can get lesser moonstone, moss agate, shadow gem. All 3 of those are common. So that means, again, you'll no matter what, every prospecting get at least one of those. And I think that's really exciting because moss agate sells for over $1 currently. And again, prices can absolutely change, and I think a lot of people are predicting that they will go down, which I definitely agree with now that you'll have an alternative method of acquiring these gems that increases supply, of course. And tin ore is ridiculously cheap. You can see here in this screenshot, it's about 9 silver to buy out one tin, right? So you multiply that by 5 to get your 5 tin. Of course, prices are always changing. You can also get some aquamarine, citrin, or jade. Those the aquamarine sells quite well, but the citrin and jade not as much. So there's some profitability here, assuming prices, of course, stay where they are. Which, of course, we know that's not going to happen. But tin, I feel like, is probably one to keep an eye on, because I think tin potentially could have some profits there, depending on prices. So let's move on to iron ore. So now you can acquire pretty much a lot of the same stuff, but also you can get star rubies. And aquamarine also has gone up the percent chance. So the common ones being lesser moonstone, citrin, and jade now, and then star ruby and aquamarine being the rare items. This one's a little bit interesting because there's some high value gems here. Star ruby and aquamarine can be acquired from prospecting. However, iron ore is so expensive that I just don't think there's any gold making opportunities from buying ore and then trying to prospect it. And it'll take 125 skill to get to be able to prospect iron ore. Now moving on to mithril ore. We're starting to get into the more higher level ores here. You can get citrin, star ruby, aquamarine quite frequently. You'll be guaranteed one of those per prospecting. But you can also get blue sapphire. That's a powerhouse when it comes to price, typically selling for, looks like around 39 gold. You can also get large opal, Azerothian diamond, or huge emerald. So these are all crazy high value gems. Of course, again, prices will probably go down, but very interesting. You can get some really valuable gems from Mithril. Of course, maybe if you're fast enough, the prices won't drop immediately, and maybe if you've already been stockpiling Mithril, you get your jewel crafting up to 175. Maybe you can prospect like crazy and try to get some sales before the price drops too low. But Mithril Ore, I think, is another potential opportunity, especially if you get lucky with some of these blue sapphires. But the chances of that is pretty low, 2.5%. All right, let's talk about Thorium Ore. This is the highest level ore currently available to us in pre-patch, but Star Ruby has a 30% chance, so that's the only common, so you're going to get that quite frequently. But you can also get blue sapphire, large opal. Oh, sorry, these are all commons, my mistake. So out of all of this list, you're guaranteed to get one of these. So Star Ruby, blue sapphire, large opal, Azerothian diamond, and huge emerald, guaranteed every time when you prospect to get at least one of these. Now, all of these sell pretty well. The only scenario where you would lose money actually with Thorium Ore is Star Ruby with these types of ratios. So out of all of the ores we've talked through, I think Thorium Ore is probably your best bet. So I know it's a bit late, to go buy it because the auction house is down, but I think there's some potential. Keep an eye on Thorium Ore and the value of these gems because they're all pretty amazing. You'll have to be 250 with Jewelcrafting in order to prospect Thorium Ore. So basically you're leveling it up almost entirely. Now there are some rare gems, right, that you can get from Thorium Ore. Now these are actually TBC gems. I have no price history to pull. Obviously, I could go to private servers and look at it, but I don't think that's sort of fair. So unknown on the prices, but you can hold on to it. Maybe you could even sell it now just to see if someone's willing to buy it. But you also have a chance to get some of these gems from Thorium Ore as well. Now, I mentioned, you have to level up your jewel crafting, so I want to briefly talk about some important things when you're going about leveling jewel crafting. And there's only a few, so this won't take too long. Over on the left-hand side, though, I do have full guides that I completely endorse, and I think that they're fantastic. We've got the WoW Professions jewel crafting guide. I love that website. I use it personally myself. I think they do a really good job. I think it's better than Wowhead, if you ask me. Wowhead misses stuff sometimes. And then Nixar's cheap jewel crafting guide. This is actually, I found this on Reddit. He created this guide that looks like if you follow his advice, you'll only spend about 200 gold on leveling jewel crafting from 1 to 300. So that's pretty impressive. So let's talk about some of these things to look out for. So the pendant of the agate shield. Now this one is pretty expensive to craft. It'll take a moss agate and some bronze settings, or just one bronze setting. And the thing about it is that it's purchased, so it's going to be in limited quantity. So buying the recipe itself is going to be probably pretty difficult because, I recommend you go out and try to, sell it because I'm sure it's going to be in demand. You can get it from Jandy and Thousand Needles, Fruin Post, or Neil Allen in Wetlands from Menethil Harbor. So chances are it's going to be really hard to get. So I actually don't recommend trying to do this yourself, but if someone else is going for it, try to profit off this is my recommendation to you. Now, Amulet of the Moon is another option. Again, this is purchased in limited quantity, but there's actually 4 vendors. So I actually think this one's not too hard to get a hold of. Again, there's total resale value because of that limited quantity. But if you look at the reagents required to craft an Amulet of the Moon, Lesser Moonstone is super cheap. A bronze setting is just bronze bar. So I think this is actually a decent way to go about leveling your jewel crafting from 120 to 150 skill. I definitely think avoiding the pendant of the agate shield is a good idea though, but try to profit off of it if you can. Amulet of the Moon, same deal. Try to profit off that if you can as well. Now here are the alternates. You can craft these from 120 to 150. If you look at the prices, it looks a little bit higher, but both of these 2 recipes are taught by the trainer, so there's absolutely 100% guarantee that you should be able to craft this if you can't get a hold of the other 2 recipes that were shown on the last slide. Golden Dragon Ring actually looks like it's probably cheaper. Gold Bar I feel like goes for less than that. On my server, Jade Ring is also not that bad. Iron Bar is a little pricey, but these are some good alternates that the alternate guide recommended going after these instead of the 2 limited supply recipes. Now from 180 to 210, There's another fork in the road that you should be aware of. So after you do the solid stone statues, which is a bit pricey if you look at the solid stone cost, you make 5 of them in order to get to 185, and then from there you have some options. The blazing citron ring is another limited quantity item, so some profit potential, especially for Horde, because it's in the middle of nowhere. Karina and Decilis, who's just north of the Kodo graveyard, sells the recipe, and then Micah Yance and Hillsbred South Shore. That's a little bit easier to get to for the Alliance. The blazing citron ring actually is not difficult to craft, so that's I would say a pretty good gold making opportunity. But also, if you can't get a hold of that because of the limited quantity and everyone's going to try to sell it and make money off of it, you have 2 other alternative recipes that are taught by the trainer. Now, the Citron Ring of Rapid Healing, I think that this is not worth going after because elemental water is typically very expensive. As you can see, just for 2 elemental water, it's gonna cost you about 8 gold. It's kind of a lot. Alternatively, the True Silver Commander's Ring is probably cheaper for you. Again, prices may vary, but the Citron Ring of Rapid Healing is on many guides online. It's probably not the right thing to go for to level your jewel crafting just because of that elemental water being a reagent. Now, the last one is the 250 to 276 or 278 skill. The recommended typical thing is the Ruby Pendant of Fire, which isn't too bad depending on your star ruby costs, but that could cost quite a bit. And alternatively, you could go after the True Silver Healing Ring. Now, this only takes 2 Heart of the Wild, which typically Heart of the Wild is very inexpensive compared to star ruby. However, depending on your server's cost of True Silver bars, you could see could be comparable. But the other guide that I mentioned does recommend going after the True Silver Healing Ring, taking that all the way up to 278 skill. Well, guys, that's it. I powered through that guide, trying to keep it short for you guys. I know you guys don't want super long guides, so hopefully this was helpful to you. Hopefully you get an idea of what you can profit off of and what to avoid when leveling, jewel crafting, and then when you're prospecting, what are you going to get if you prospect ore? That was a thing that I was wondering myself. So I'm going to post the presentation in the comments for you guys, just in case you guys want to take a look at it. It took me a while to make, and hopefully you like how it looks and it's valuable to you. If you learned anything from this video or you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a like. And if you want more World of Warcraft content like this, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.